everyone, my name is Rob, co-founder of Eastern States Paranormal and owner of Go Shack, paranormal equipment store here in Australia. Long time now I've wanted to interview my mother Sally about growing up as a medium as a child. This is my first attempt at interviewing anyone in the paranormal field, let alone my mother. If all goes well, I'll keep it up, interviewing other teams, other mediums, friends that are in the paranormal field, and maybe even interview people that think they're vampires or seen yetis or follow UFOs. So let's get into it. Hi Ma, thank you for doing this interview with me today. I know you don't like talking about this kind of thing because you've always thought people took you as mad or crazy or did not want to listen to you. So today I want to basically show the world and my friends how proud I am of you, what you've done, and how you've helped Anne and myself and ESP with investigations. I just want to show people your story, how you grew up from a child, seeing spirits, to now. Growing up in Croatia, what happened and when did you experience your first spirit sighting?
Probably when I was about 3.5. I didn't know it was a spirit. I just thought it was a normal child. Because I used to get belted a lot. My grandmother didn't like me because I was a female, and she didn't like me, and she used to belt me all the time, and she'd say I look like my mother, and she'd hit me, and when I'd go to sleep I'd cry and I'd be upset, and this little girl appeared, but I thought she must have come up the stairs and went up the, what they call it, attic, and I didn't know where she came from, but she just said to me, don't cry and you'll be all right. And then we started playing and talking, and she was there for a while. I don't know for how long, but she was there for a while. Then she sort of went, and I went to sleep, and then the next morning I went and told my grandmother that I had a little girl there. She was playing with me, and she asked me, what little girl? There's no little girls here. There's nobody here, only you and your brother and the rest of us, no other children. And I said, well, there was a little girl. And she said, something's wrong with you, you're crazy. She said, you're making all these stories up, and she started hitting me. And I never cried when I got hit, but I cried after, when there was nobody around. And I just said, well, there was somebody there, and we played and all that. And she said, stop telling lies and stop making stories up and don't lie. You know, it's not true, you're crazy. I'll have to tell your mother, you're mad. Yeah. And that was just left at that. And that night I went to bed and I was upset because I was sore too from being hit and pretty bad. And the little girl come again. And she told me that I'll be all right, that I won't have to put up with any of this for too much longer. The things will be fine with me. And we played again, and from that time I never told anybody what I saw or what happened. And then I realised the girl wasn't a true girl, but I didn't know she was a spirit either, because I was too young to know. Yeah. And that's all I can. And then after a while, I didn't see her anymore. That's when we left.
All right. So, why did the family pack up and leave Croatia?
Well, my father wanted us to find a better place to live. He wanted us to go to another country because of all the wars, and he didn't want us to get killed, us kids, and he wanted a better life for us. So he picked he wanted to go to Australia where all the kangaroos were. That's what he used to say to us, and we didn't know what kangaroos were. You know, he didn't either. But he used to just say kangaroo because he heard somebody talk about that. And so they took off to Italy, to Trieste. It took them 7 days and 7 nights to get there because they just went round circles. They got caught, put into jail. We were put in a home once. Then we were put with our grandmother, and that's where a lot of trouble for me started. And Mum left us and Dad because she, as I said, she didn't like me. I was a girl, didn't want a useless, stupid girl around.
That was great-grandmother?
Yeah. It was my father's mother. She was good with my brother, but with me, no. And anyway, the 7th time my dad and mum didn't even come home. They just got out of jail, went straight away. They would try to get across the border and whatever. So they crossed it, got there, and they made a map out for my auntie. She was only 18 years old, and my uncle took us to the edge of the border of Croatia, and the rest of the way we walked through the bushes, through the mountain, like the hills.
Oh, okay.
We saw a lot of blokes there with rifles, and we had to keep quiet. And
So this when the Germans were in Europe?
no, the Germans weren't in there then, but the war more or less stopped then. The war
okay.
stopped,
Yeah.
but there was still, you weren't allowed to cross the border. Nobody was, if they did, they'd shoot them if they caught them. So my parents were lucky they didn't get shot, but they got put in jail. But we didn't get caught because they'd read everything out and made where we had to go and through tunnels and things like that. And we got across within one day and one night we travelled. Sometimes during the day we had to stop and just go to sleep and go quiet so they wouldn't hear us. And the night time when it came later we started going again, and we got there at night. And we got to Trieste actually, and got our parents, and that's where our journey began to come to Australia.
At the age of 9, you ended up in hospital for taking all of Pop's pills.
Yes, I did. I was stupid, but at that time I didn't think I was stupid because my parents worked on a farm, and they were trying to make a bit of money so they could get a house for us. So my grandmother looked after us again. They come out a few years later.
Yep.
And they come out, and she was looking after us, and she was always horrible to me, and still hitting me, and still picking on me, and slapping me in the face, and pulling my hair, and saying, "You're like your mother, you're a useless girl," and all this sort of stuff. And I think I just cracked, and I had enough, and I just took all my dad's tablets. He had ulcers and a few different things, and I just left him one pill of each, and I took the rest. So I made sure he had one pill left. Which it's true, I did.
Yeah.
And I took all his tablets, and I got really sick, and my brother had to take me to the hospital. Not my parents, but my brother. We had to go by bus, and we got there, and the doctor said, "What did you take? What did you eat?" And I told him I took some of my father's tablet for a headache. And I said I only took 2. He says, "Well, you shouldn't be so sick like that then. Maybe it was something strong." I said, "I don't know. I just thought it was something from the head." And a few minutes later, I got really crook, and I brought all these tablets up, and there was heaps of them there. Full bottle of Vicks and full bottle of
Jeez.
a lot of things. And when they all come out, I felt still a bit sick, but nowhere near to what I was. And he asked me then what was going on, and I told him that I just had enough of living, really, and I think I felt sorry for me because he didn't report it to Mum or anybody. He just told me not to do it again and to live my life and everything would be fine. And when he left the room, my brother was outside waiting until I got dressed and put my clothes back on, and this spirit come. Then I knew it wasn't a live person, it was a dead person. Come in and said to me that I'd be all right, that I'll be going somewhere soon, but everything will be all right with me. I won't be getting belted anymore, and my life will change.
Was this person male or female that you
It was
saw?
a female.
Female.
It was an older woman. I don't know who she was, but she came. And there was a man standing there too, near the door, but he didn't speak.
Yeah.
So I don't know who that was either. And that was my first time that I realised that it was a spirit, it wasn't a real person. But it stood there like a real person.
Talking about your grandmother, what did she do to you, like as a baby, or did she hurt you then, or?
Yeah, when I was probably 6 months old, I got sick. I was healthy until then, but then I got sick. I don't know what was wrong. She came to see me with my parents, and while my parents were talking to the doctor, she would come into the room. I was told all this, I didn't know because I was only a baby, and she put a pillow over my face and she tried to suffocate me. And the doctor was talking to my parents and looked over, as probably because he was talking about me, that he looked to the window and saw her pushing on my head, like with a pillow over my face. And he just ran in and pulled her off me and said that she was never allowed to come in and see me again while I was in hospital. And my dad went off his brain too. And she said, they asked her, what are you doing? Why did you do it? And she said, why do you want a sick child in this world, especially a girl? And that was it. I was in there for months in hospital, but she wasn't allowed to come and see me at all. That's all I remember, and that's all I've been told about that.
Do you think this, like, people say near-death experiences, well, my beliefs in near-death experiences, that you have 1 foot in the grave and 1 foot in reality, that's what triggers these events, to see the other side?
Well, I don't know about that. I can't answer that really. I don't know, because maybe it could happen that way, but with me, maybe because I was getting belted that much all the time, and a lot of times I couldn't walk, I was that belted, that maybe the little girl or whoever, they felt sorry for me because this was happening, and the girl just come to play with me and kept me company more or less, because I had nobody. As people, when that happens, maybe, I can't answer that, really.
One of the big questions I want to ask is, like, how do you see spirits? Because some people see outlines, some people just feel energy, or things like that. Me personally, I see shadows, outlines of people. Sometimes it's just like a shimmer, like a heat shimmer go past. And this is in pitch black darkness, or there's a little bit of light and you see a shimmer go past. I see sometimes a silver outline of somebody's body, like an aura kind of thing. But inside where the body's supposed to be, it's like chiseled out, like it's hollow. So how do you personally see them?
Well, I see them as a real person.
Like just looking...
if I'm just looking at you.
Okay.
I see them like that. Sometimes I see, night time, I might see a bit of I see the person, but I see a bit of a line over him. And that's all. But I see him as a person. I don't see him as the shadow or... I said, but sometimes it does happen as a shadow when they're looking at you in your sleep and you sort of know something's there and you open your eyes and they're staring right at you, then you jump 6 foot and they jump and take off, and that's where you see them like something just going right like a smoke. Yeah. But that's the only time. Other times when I'd see them as just somebody standing there.
Does it get confusing sometimes knowing that this person's real and this person's...
No, I know.
Okay.
I just know. I don't know how or why, but I just know that...
Do they look different? Like a little different?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Like a real person's got more colour. And the other people, they're just looking a little bit duller. Let's just say a little bit paler, or not too much colour in them, but they're people.
Okay.
They're real people, like you just think they're real people standing there.
Yeah. I got just going from my notes. I remember you telling me not long ago, was it not last Anzac Day, but the Anzac Day before, when you went to Sussex Inlet to see the parade. What happened then? Because that nearly put tears in my eyes.
Well, we were standing there waiting to cross the road, and we couldn't because the march was on. Yep. And there was all people walking, marching.
The soldiers?
First it was all people.
Oh, okay. Yep.
There was all people marching and that. And we were standing there watching and looking. I think, oh, gee, I kept thinking about the Anzac Day and that. And the next minute, the people weren't there. It was all soldiers. There was all soldiers, and they all looked at me, and they put their hand up to salute and smiled at me and just kept marching through. And that's when I got all tears in my eyes, and, and my husband said, what's wrong? And I told him, I said, I just seen all the soldiers going past. And he said, and they saluted me, and they just smiled, and that was pretty awesome, actually.
I bet.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what happened at the River Hill house, like how old Warren and I were, and the first time you saw the boy spirit there.
Well, my oldest boy was 5, And my youngest son, he was 2,
Which is me,
which is Robert.
the best son.
Well, yeah, Robert was 2 and Warren was 5. And Robert wouldn't go to sleep at night, and I was always having trouble with him. In and out the door, in and out the door. And this particular night, it was probably about 9 o'clock. I said to Robert, "No, you've got to go to sleep. I've got to go to work," and blah blah. And put him down, give him his dummy, and I thought he was asleep. And the next minute, within a couple of seconds, I sat down, and I heard this door open, and this child come out, and it looked exactly like Robert's features. You didn't see his face.
Yeah.
But just, I thought it was Robert come out, and I went quicker. I said, "Robert, get into bed and stop coming out." And as I went to the door, I hit my face on it because it was shut. But to me, the door opened, and it was, and I went in, and Robert was sound asleep. And I come out and told my husband, I said, "He's asleep." I said, "Who's the boy?" And he said, "I don't know." So my husband must have seen him too, because he said, "I don't know." And we both just sat there, never talked about it anymore. And the next day, I had to go to work, and I was running late as usual because I had to get the kids ready and take them here and there, and I couldn't find my keys. I was looking for the car keys everywhere, and my work keys mainly. The car keys, I had spare ones, but my work keys were the ones I couldn't find. I looked everywhere for them, and I don't know why. I went to the laundry, and I looked into the dryer, and there was my keys in the dryer.
And our laundry was outside.
Outside, yeah, our laundry was
Raised
outside.
up above, taller than us
Taller
boys.
than especially, and my husband said, "Oh, the kids probably put it there." I said, "There's no way they could put it there," and even Robert, because he said Robert might have done it. And then I said, "Well, even if he got on a chair, he still couldn't reach it because you couldn't."
Yeah.
So he said, "Oh well, whatever," and that was just left at that.
Yeah.
And that happened quite a few times. My keys, especially my work keys, would disappear, and I was late for work every day for an hour.
Yeah.
And this one day, I had 2 days off, and I did some washing and ironing, and I sat down and I felt this little shadow or whatever it was that sat next to him. I didn't see him. It wasn't a shadow. It was just a warm feeling that someone sat next to me, and I got a bit frightened with that, but I didn't sort of take too much notice.
So he didn't show yourself?
Not at that time.
Show himself to you?
No, not at that time. He didn't show himself right to the end. And he just sat there next to me, and I talked, trying to make out that I wasn't frightened, but I was. So I went to the lady next door and told her what happened, and she said, "Oh, that's a bit weird." She said, "There must be something in there." And I said, "I don't know, but I'm going back again." She said, "Well, I'll come with you." Anyway, she came in with me, but nothing happened in that.
Yeah.
And nothing happened that night or the rest of the day. And then the next day again, I was doing cleaning, and then I sat down and I was folding clothes. The ones I didn't have time, I was just folding them. And I saw this little boy come and sit next to me. And I could see him, he was only about 2 years old.
Okay.
And he sat next to me, and he cuddled right up to me. And I said, and that's when I asked him, "Who is he? What did he want?" And all he said a few times, he wanted money.
Yep.
And he cried, and I said to him, "Not to cry, we'll find your money for you."
So you could actually hear him crying?
Yeah, he was crying like a little kid, little child cries. And I went to Mari again after that, after he went. I went to her again. I said, "Look," and I told her everything, and she said, "I know this old lady." She said she's 95, 96-year-old. She's lived here all her life. She might tell us if there's anything in this property where you are. And because she said all these places are new, new built in it.
So basically it was a new estate, when you and Dad moved in.
That's right. We bought a block. Didn't know what was going to be built on it, but we just bought it from the company, and they built houses on it. So we went to this lady. She took me there, and I told her everything what happened, and she said, "Oh my God," she said, "I know who this little boy is." And I said, "Do you believe me?" And she said, "Yeah, I do. I do believe you." Anyway, I told her everything, and she told me it was a race course there, but not race horses. That was those with 2 wheels. I don't know what
That sits in the back of the...
Yeah, you only get one jockey sitting there, but there's 2 big wheels, and they race.
I can't remember the name of
I
that.
don't know what they are, And she said the little boy, there was all families always there. It wasn't just me, nor it was just families used to go and watch. And she said this little boy, they must have been talking or something, but the little boy ran out, and one of them, a couple of them ran over him because they couldn't stop. It was just, and he died right there. She said probably where your house was, and she came and looked at the house, and she said, well, I can tell you exactly where that child, where Aranda was. She said it was right there.
Right where he got hit.
Right where he got hit.
Jeez.
Right. And I said, do you want his mummy? And I don't know who his mum is or anything. I don't know nothing about him. And she said, I know who they are. And she said, I'll tell you where. I said, well, there's no use me writing the address because he won't know. He's only a baby. Well, that's what I called him, a baby. I said, he won't know where to go. So she said to me, I'll draw you on. And she drew me the road where to go.
So like a little map kind of thing?
Little map thing.
Yep.
So I sat down with him and I just said to him, this is where you've got to go. And he knew exactly where to go then.
Wow.
And he said goodbye to me, cuddled me, and it just I never saw him again. He just disappeared.
Jeez.
That was my first in that sort of little kid. That I was a bit scared about that. I thought that's but at least the lady next door and the old lady didn't think I was crazy for once.
Yeah. So what happened? Like I always heard you and Dad talk about nailing up the manhole in the house.
Oh yes, the little manhole that kept coming undone. Well, because of all this happened, we used to hear noises and banging, and we thought it was the wind at first. And so he got up the next morning, had a look up on the manhole, but there was no holes through the manhole that you could say the wind would. So he nailed it anyway. He put a couple of nails in it, and the next day, same thing. The manhole was moved, and we couldn't understand why the manhole. But I never saw anybody. There was nobody there.
Was there anything put up in the manhole? Like he said, like the keys, you'd find the keys in the oven or...
Oh, not my keys were never up there, but my keys were always either in the oven or in a cupboard or hidden somewhere under the bed. But I always seemed to find them, but an hour later.
Oh, okay.
Like it took me out to find my keys always. And I was always late for work.
Yeah.
I was lucky I was a domestic and I worked at the hospital, that they were good with me.
Yep.
And I still got my work done, so they didn't say nothing to me. They were pretty good.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of little things that were happening, but we never actually saw any spirits or anything like that, only that little boy.
Like talking about how you were at the hospital, you worked at Glasgow Hospital, which is, as we know, is a very sad place with shocking history and stuff like that. Did you have... Well, some people say that they have proof of Glasgow Hospital being haunted. Did you have any interactions with spirit there?
I have one man especially. He come and he's just appeared, but he had chains on his arms, like on his wrists, and chains on his feet. And he wanted me to take his chains off. And I said, well, I can't take your chains. And I couldn't take them off. They were, And I said, what did you do? And he said, I didn't do nothing. He said, I'm a sick man. I didn't do nothing. But they chain us up all the time. And at night time, apparently, to the beds, they chained them up. Because in those days, they didn't have medication.
Yep.
They didn't have the strong medication for them. This was well before I started work. There would have been years before that would have happened.
When it first opened up in 1800 and so on.
And he couldn't understand why I couldn't do it, and I said to him, I can't. He said, but don't worry. I said, you'll be okay. The chains will come off you. If you think of a nice thing, think of something, and things will fall off you, and you'll be okay.
Yeah.
I said, I don't even know why it made me say that, because I was only 21 then when I went to work there. And he never ever come back again, but used to see a lot of them, but they never stopped and talk. They just look at you. Or sometimes a young woman would go past and just pat me on the head, just play with my hair. I had real long hair and that, and they used to just rub their hand on my hair and to smile and just keep walking. But I never ever told anybody that I saw anything, because over the years I was just sick of people saying I'm crazy and I need to be locked up with these people and all that sort of stuff.
You freaked me out a little bit about a story. One of the stories you told me about Gaza Hospital when you used to clean the showers.
Yeah. Well, I cleaned the showers, and I used to see a lot of, patients, as I call. They used to call in and out. But this one patient called me, and he wanted me to go to another ward to see a young man there and needed help. And I said to him, well, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a domestic. I'm a cleaner. I'm not anything to... He said, he's your country boy. He needs to help. And he'll be okay, but once you help him. And he left. He told me which ward he was in. And so I went to the ward. Probably the next day. I didn't go that day. The next day I worked, and I went in my lunch hour and asked charge, because I knew the charge there pretty well, and asked him about this. Is there a Croatian boy there? That he's only young. I didn't know how old he was. And he said, yeah, we've got a 16-year-old. He's been here for a few years now. He doesn't talk. He's quiet. He sits on his own, and he's usually in the corner, and he always sits with his head in between his legs, sort of, with his, and he never looked at anybody, never talked. He never talked for quite a few years. And I said, what happened to him? He said, we don't know, because he never talked. His parents brought him in, and this is where he's been for quite a few years now. He couldn't even remember actually how many years he's been there, but he's been there quite a while.
Okay.
So I used to go in there and try to talk to him, and he'd look with one eye more or less, like put his head up and just look, and put his head down, and he wouldn't talk. And I kept persistent talking to him, but nothing happened. And then the spirit come in and said, keep talking to him. He will open up to you. He said he will, and you'll know what happened to him. I said, oh my God, no, this is a bit too much. It was too much, because I was only a young woman myself, sort of. Anyway, this one time I come in and I worked there, and I heard this voice say, hello, hello, a couple of times to me. And I looked, and it was the young man. I'm not sure if his name was Nicole. In our language it was Nicole, so I'd say it'd be Nick or something like that. And I said, you're talking. And he went quiet, and then he talked again. And I said to him, I was told to come and see you and to talk to you and to help you, that you can go home. And he said, I'll never go home from here. I said, because they'll know that I'm crazy. And I said, yeah, but if you tell them what's wrong with you. This boy was 16 years old. And when he went out of the hospital, I think he was about 18, 19 years old. Not at 16. He was 16 when I started seeing him, right? Yeah. But he was in there, I think he was much younger than that. And I couldn't tell you what age exactly he was, but I know he was 16 when I first started. But when by the time he got out, he was about 18 years old, I think. He was a young man then. Anyway, I got talking to him. He said, are you sure you'll be able to help me? I said, yes. I said, this person said to me that if I talk to you and you tell me everything what's happened to you, or what made you get sick and to come, that your parents had to put you in. And he told me then. He started crying first, wiped his tears, and he said to me, my uncle and his best friend used to rape me from when I was 9 years old. They did all sorts of things to me. And they told him that if he told his parents or anybody that they'd kill his mum and dad and his young sister. His sister was only a baby at that time when he was 9 years old. So he kept it to himself for all these years until his parents moved.
So basically he just shut up and...
He just shut up. He never talked from that time to his parents.
Wow.
He just went like a... I don't know what they call those people that don't talk, he's a mute or whatever. But he never talked for years and years and years. Never. His parents tried to talk to him, they didn't know what happened. Just like that, overnight, he didn't talk.
Wow.
There was over things that were happening to him, and it happened to him for quite a few years, actually. Yeah. And then his parents, because of this, they moved, they were told about Gladesville. And they moved up to, what was it? Past West Ryde there was a little place. I can't think of the name of it now, Robert. But Ryde.
There's West Ryde?
No, past West Ryde it was, the next suburb of West Ryde. Anyway, they moved there, bought our house, and they took him to the hospital, and that's where he stayed all.
Yep.
And I said, and the Spirit told me to go and help this boy.
Mm.
And I just said, how can I help him?
Mm.
I can't help him. I'm not a doctor and that.
Yep.
But anyway, I did. He told me everything, and I called the doctor in.
Mm.
And he said, is he talking? I said, yes, he is. And he told me everything what happened to him and why he went like quiet.
Mm.
He said that he wasn't mad. He could hear you all talking to him,
Mm.
and everything you said to him, his mum and dad and everybody. He wasn't mad. He just went into a, I don't know what you call that either, but he just went quiet. He just didn't want to talk. He didn't want to, in case he slipped and said what happened to him, that his parents would die.
Yeah.
And then I called his parents in too then.
Mm.
The doctors called the parents and they come the next day. And the doctor said, this is brilliant. He said, we got all this out, and you can see the change in that boy when all that come out of him.
Well, had the world on his shoulders.
Yeah, but he cried like, the tears were just like buckets coming out of him. And I think we all cried, even the doctor had tears in his eyes. And his parents come, and the doctor told his parents, and they looked at the son, and they talked to him, and for the first time in all those years, he talked to them. He said he was sorry he didn't talk, but he couldn't. He didn't want them to get hurt. And they told him what happened and that. And he was there still for another probably 6 months. They made sure that he was okay, that he wasn't gone,
Yeah.
you know. But he wasn't mad or he wasn't anything, he just went quiet. And he went home.
Wow.
But his brother went to jail. And that
His
meant
uncle.
His uncle, or the father's brother.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He went to jail and so did his mate. And I don't know what happened to them after that.